What do you do? What do I do? Like, how do I dress? What do I do? What does a stay-at-home mom do? What kind, do I wear makeup still?
I think that you that asking me, so this is hilarious that you get me.
Makes sense to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, okay. I think the biggest thing though is sense of purpose. You have your workouts, and of course you have your son. That's the number one thing, is your son. Okay, but then you have your workouts and your structure and your routine, but you have to have that sense of purpose. Otherwise, you'll fall into that stay-at-home trap where you click in TV, you're finding every excuse.
Steve Gonzalez, my buddy. We've been friends, what, 30 years?
Yes, ma'am. Back then, 93, 94. So
Whoa. We went to college together. You ran off and joined the SEAL teams. And how many years did you do before you retired?
I did 34 total. So I did time before I went to Buds. Actually, I did time before I went to ODU. And then left and went to become a SEAL. And then I finished at 34 years.
Good
So yes, ma'am.
gracious.
Yes, ma'am. I was
You don't
32 when I went through Buds.
I consider you one of my best friends on the planet, my most trusted, and you still to this day say yes, ma'am. Is that just like a habit? Do you do that with all the ladies that you're friends with?
I do that with everybody. I deal with the young man who's working at Starbucks. I mean, I just, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir. Yeah, just how I am.
Why is that? I kind of do that too sometimes. I even do that to my son.
I think it's just the way you're brought up. I think it's the heritage you're brought up. I grew up in the South, and that was just expected. I'm a product of I was born in the 60s, so I'm a product of the 70s and 80s coming up. And then, of course, 34 years in the military, you're kind of institutionalized, if you will, with yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, no, sir.
Where were you raised? I don't know if I've ever talked to you about that.
I was
Or,
born and raised in a quiet little town called New Orleans, Louisiana. So,
well, that's right.
yes, nothing quiet about it. But yes, yep, yep. Grew up
What
there.
was
And
that
then
like? Did you have any brothers and sisters?
I am the oldest. I have two brothers, one sister. One of my brothers and sisters are twins, and then I have the baby brother. And I was just your average guy, kind of the gray man. Played sports, student government, was in the band. And then but I knew at an early age that I wanted to travel and see the world. So as soon as I could, I joined the Navy. I actually joined our delayed entry program, where you could sign up and then leave later on. I graduated high school in May, and then July I was gone.
What did you play in the band?
I was a trumpet player, trumpet and French
You're
horn.
the
Yes.
trumpet. I played the French horn.
See?
We both played the French horn.
Yes, ma'am.
I did too. It was as big as I was. And
Mhm.
I'd have to carry it on to the bus. And it was like, okay,
Yeah,
I got
yeah,
this thing going up the stairs.
yeah, yeah. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I just all around, did everything. Played, like I said, played sports, um, everything, band, student government. But I was kind of the gray man. I wasn't I wasn't very well known in high school, but I also wasn't like not known. So, yep, yeah.
You and I met in college and became friends.
Hmm.
And you've been one of my closest lifelong friends ever. We have crossed paths in many ways
Hmm.
and stayed in touch. And you're showing up on the Chrissy Russo show. I left. Did I tell you? I haven't talked to you in a few months. I left Fox 5 in April.
I did not know that. Wow.
Yes, I
But you were
did.
there forever. How long were you there?
Well, okay. So I did TV for 31 years.
Wow.
And when you and I met, when we were
Mhm.
both in college at Old Dominion,
Mhm.
I started, you probably remember, that's when I started my career because I was putting
Mhm.
myself through school and I had a sorority sister, Amy Todd, who worked for Metro Traffic. And I was about 19 or 20. And she encouraged me to come down to the Metro Traffic with Don Dulio and the gang. And if you live in Norfolk or Virginia Beach,
Mhm.
you know Don Dulio, he's the
Mhm.
man. Actually, my mom told me he just passed away.
Really?
Yeah, what
Mm.
a great guy. He had a great run. So I started doing the fill-in for traffic reports with 103 Jams and and all that. And I did my first TV report. About 6 months later, I filled in for somebody on Wavy TV 10. I did the afternoon traffic report, and I was so nervous I was pretty much sweating because back then, we didn't have the gram and the TikTok and all, so we weren't used to being on air, or being, presented to the world. So sweating. I mean, I had my stupid suit on that I would burn to this day if I knew where it was. And I had a short hair I think I had cut my hair at the time, or I was trying to look professional because I was transitioning from being a beach lifeguard to being a professional, right? And I was like trying to, I'm sweating, and I had it memorized. And I'm like, and then on the 64, and then on the 264, and the guy, the news anchor goes, and I'm Chrissy Russo, and now back to you. And I was like, oh, thank God, thank God, thank God. This isn't thinking. And he goes, thank you, Chrissy, and welcome to the team.
Nice.
And I said, I don't know if you were one of my friends that joked on me nonstop for the rest of my college career, but that was my first appearance on TV. That was about 31 years ago. So I moved out to San Diego in 9/11, 2001, right before 9/11 happened. When 9/11 happened, I was not even working yet. I had boxes stacked up in my apartment. I hadn't even gone into it was Fox 6 at the time. So I started working at Fox 6, and I just left Virginia Beach, where I'd covered the USS Cole bombing. I come out here, and I'm not even working yet. I, cut my foot surfing, and I had this cast on, and I was like on crutches, and I'm like limping into Fox 6. This is 2001, 2000, early 2002, and was still news reporting at the time. And news reporting is one thing because people lie to your face all the time.
Really?
You look surprised. I did not like that. So I asked my news director here in San Diego, Al Pando, could I do the weather position had opened up. And I had done weather at a small station in Virginia for a little bit and had a science background at ODU. And he was like, yeah. So I was terrible. He fired me 3 times, and I just kept showing up, and that was 2002. So that's how long I've been here. Then it switched over to Fox 5. There was a coup. The Fox affiliation left Televisa and went to Tribune, and I went with it. And that's when Rich Goldner, then my news director, hired me, and he's real famous. Both of those guys, amazing news directors. I had a really, really good run. Our show was off the hook, at Fox 5. And as time just kind of went on, my son was getting older and older, and I'd never spent a morning with him, that I wasn't on vacation, or I was just more than exhausted. I'd gotten up between 2 and 4 in the morning for 30 years. Yeah. And I was more than exhausted. There's not even like a chart that you can plot how exhausted I was. And one day, my son says, I was just hustling around the house, and he said, Mom, did you Google how to be a stay-at-home mom? And I was busy going through mail or something, and I said, yeah, but I didn't have time to read what came up. And I just had this moment. This was just a few months ago. And I just had this moment of like, what am I doing? This isn't, and my hours were being expanded at work. It wasn't like, because, my boss had left in October, and we didn't really have a news director. It was just kind of a mess and at work, and everything was expanding, and I was just missing so much at home. And I just realized, like, what am I doing? I can keep investing in my 401k, or I can invest in my son. Which one's going to pay more? And even though the market's doing great right now, pretty sure investing in my child. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, 100%. Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
How's your child doing? Your little baby girl, little tiny itty bitty baby girl.
My little bitty baby girl is 22. She's in her senior year at LSU, and yes, she's loving life. She's in back in Virginia right now, working for the summer, and then I'll bring her back to LSU for her final semester in August. And but she's doing well. She's doing really, really well. I have to hand it to her to go from Virginia, LSU, and she only went with one friend from Chesapeake, from where she went to high school. She packed everything up, went there, didn't know anybody, and just handled it like a pro. She moved into the dorm, met her roommate. Her and her roommate stayed together all 4 years. Her
Cool.
roommate just graduated, and yep, and they're actually on a trip right now, little girls' weekend. So yeah, it's really neat watching your child, as I'm sure you know, watching your child grow and mature and just be so precocious at times. So yeah, 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 it's really cool. So
I love it when my hot guy friends have daughters. It's hilarious to me.
that's
Does she
called
have any
karma.
does she have any boyfriends or what's the
She
deal?
she's had like two serious boyfriends. One her senior year in high school. Um, But when she went off to LSU, she's like, "Yeah, like, let's just kind of go our separate ways." And then she had one let's see, her junior year. Same thing, he lived in Virginia, and she lives, at LSU, and they enjoyed each other. Maybe 10 years down the line, it would have been great. But she was doing her thing at LSU. He was back in Virginia, so they kind of parted, pretty decent. And like, hey, look, we're both young, which you want your child to be happy. You want her to find somebody, but also you want to like, hey, let experience life, travel, see the world, and then let love come to you. So
When
yeah.
you meet these young men, walk me through it. I'm dying. Let me visualize what goes down when my buddy Steve meets his daughter's boyfriend.
well,
Is
well,
it a
you
thing where the boyfriend is fearing for his life, or are you like a friendly? Like, how do you? My dad chased one of my guy friends down the street with a firearm when I was in high school. It was a little much. How does it go
uh
down in your house? How does it go down in the Gonzalez house?
the first one I came over, very nice young man. This was high school. This is like the crush, like the sophomore little crush kind of thing. And I waited because my wife had strategically placed pictures of Caitlin and I was in uniform. Remember the pictures that I had when I sent you the Christmas cards? So they were strategically placed in the foyer. So I'm in the kitchen and he comes over and Caitlin had yelled, "Hey, Dad, Philip's here." And I waited. I just waited, let him look around, let him see all the pictures of me in uniform and Caitlin. And then I walked in and I gave him the sturdy handshake and just kind of let him know, like, "Hey, man, that's my daughter." And that was great
Oh,
because
I will
it
make
just
you disappear.
sure. So and that just spread through the school, so I never really had yeah. So, yeah, but, the great thing about it is that, I've always had I've been blessed to have a close relationship with my daughter, um, and, we feel comfortable talking about anything. So she knows that I'm always looking after her best interest. It's not that I wanna be just a hard ass. I wanna look after her best interest. So
When she was coming up, when she was a minor, you were deploying.
mhm.
You were still active duty at the time. Because I wanted to ask you a bunch of questions on how to be a stay at home mom because I thought that would be hilarious and you would be fully qualified to answer. And I don't know why. You're just that smart. But I wonder, like, how did you do it when you were active duty and deploying? And I, you know, I know everybody has to figure it out on their own, but you really were were close with her all along,
Mhm.
despite the
Yeah.
distance sometimes. I mean, how did you do it?
Perseverance. As you know, I was married before, and when we first split up, we weren't the best of friends, and so I had to really, really work hard to stay in contact with my daughter, and that's all over the world. I mean, Iraq, Afghanistan, Africa, other places, trying to stay in contact with her, but just perseverance, like letting her know, like, look, I'm going to call. I want to speak to my daughter. And so I did that, but also little things, sending postcards, sending letters. I videoed, the USO has this phenomenal program where you can video reading a book. And, yeah, it was awesome. But the funny thing is that once again, I'm deployed. So this is when I had hair. So I had long hair, beard, and I went to read Green Eggs and Ham. And I mailed it to her school because I asked her teacher if I could. And so the teacher put the DVD, that's I'll tell you how long ago that was, in the laptop or in the computer. And at first, Caitlin says, "That's not my dad," because she didn't recognize me. She goes, "That's not my dad." But then when I started speaking, I started reading Green Eggs and Ham. She yelled, "Oh my God, that's my dad!" And she got like really excited and everything. Well, she was 5 or 6, I think maybe
Oh,
6. Actually 5. Um, that has been our book. That like literally that has been our book, Green Eggs and Ham. So much so that when she went off to college, I bought a copy of it and I wrote like a motivational thing, like always remember, like you're stronger than you think you are. You could do this. Just keep it up. But then I finished with always remember you can always reach out to your dad. So yeah, so that was that was the thing. Is like stay strong, persevere, and then eventually my ex and I developed a solid relationship to co-parent together, and then yeah, I've just always stayed in touch. One cute little thing is I had a stuffed puppy. It's actually I'm in her room right now. I had a stuffed puppy, and I took pictures all over the world with puppy. I would take it on deployment with me, and it was really neat. In fact, when we protected President Obama when he went to Israel and the West Bank, we were working with the Secret Service, and I had puppy, and I said, "Hey, do you mind if I take a picture with this?" And I explained to them why, and then and they go, "Oh my God, yeah!" And they actually put puppy in the Beast, which is the limo for the president. And so yes, yeah, it was just so those little things. I mean, I've been skiing in Germany and have puppy in in my jacket and stuff like that. So little things like that to let her know that regardless of where I was in the world, your dad's thinking of you and loving you and missing you. So
Steve, I did not know that, and you guys been friends for a long time. I don't know that
yeah,
you've ever told me that story
yeah,
before. That's awesome. That's so
yeah,
smart.
yeah. I
That
don't
is
know
so
how it came with
smart.
it. Yeah, yeah. I just wanted to do something very unique. So yeah.
Well, you still let her know that she was always on your mind. How many countries did you go to when you were
Oh,
active duty?
40, maybe 40
Oh my
countries.
gosh,
Yes.
really?
Mm-hmm. Yes, ma'am. Yes.
Was there ever a time that you were, I mean, this was during all the, you were active duty during all the
Mm-hmm.
Iraq and Afghanistan and other, whatever
Mm-hmm.
else.
Mm-hmm.
Was there ever a time that, you thought, ooh, I'm in the weeds here? Like,
Yes. Yeah. I
do
actually
you feel
wrote
like
my
talking about it? Do you want to, can you tell me, or
Sure.
all
Sure, sure,
right.
sure. There's been a number of times where you're like, I don't know. And then I actually wrote in 2010, we were in the southwest portion of Afghanistan, and I actually wrote my former spouse an email, and because we were going to go do something, and it was going to be extremely challenging, and I wrote her, which most people would consider a death letter. And I, just let my daughter know how much I love her. She's always on my mind, kind of thing. So yeah, there's been a number of deployments where it's been intense enough to where you think like, I don't know if this is gonna come out okay. But you have a job to do. And I had, 20 other guys who were dependent upon me as I rose up the ranks, whether, as a shooter to the platoon chief to the troop chief and then the master chief. So you just have a job to do. So while you think about your child, you also know like there are other children that are just as dependent on and love their parents. So do your job.
What does a master chief do? What is a master chief?
So the master chief is the highest enlisted rank in the Navy. Less than 1% of the people who join the Navy can achieve the rank of master chief. So I was very unique in that I stayed operational. In other words, I deployed as long as I could, even as a master chief. That last deployment when we went to Israel and the West Bank, I was a master chief, which is kind of unheard of. I know a few other guys who have done that, but normally they run the operations or they actually run the command along with the commanding officers. Uh, but yeah, that's what I did. I just stayed operational as long as I could.
When they would run the operations from the command or other, would that be like back in Virginia Beach or San Diego, or would that be somewhere in theater? Or how far away are you?
It all
If
depended
you
on the
were
timeline. Yeah,
okay, yeah,
when
because
I
I
first
wonder.
okay, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Go
I can say
ahead.
when I first came in, when I first went into the SEAL teams, you were back in Virginia Beach or Coronado. But then after 9/11, eventually we had to deploy the entire team. And so yeah, so you would be in theater. And depending upon what theater you were in would be the proximity to what was happening.
um, any comedy moments, like funny, not necessarily on mission, but otherwise, like, I always like to hear the funny stories. Like I've heard stories about, I don't know how this is funny, but falling into a well on a mission one time. It doesn't sound funny, but apparently it was, like there was a guy that was telling a story about falling into a well and how he didn't think it was funny, but everybody else did.
Yes.
And
Oh, yeah.
what about you? What are your fun stories? Or
Jesus. Trying to keep it
that might be
PG.
more stateside. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be clean. This is the internet.
Yeah.
You can, this is like, this is brand new. Your episode 4.
Okay. All right.
No.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll give you two then. I'll give you one that's not PG rated, but it's actually very funny. So
Okay.
when in the early 2000s, we were in Kosovo and we were working there it's called hunting for PIFWICs, personnel indicted for war crimes. So like people who were committing, just genocide. So we were hunting for them. Well, where we were stationed, we were there, and one of our buddies, great guy, I can't say his name because he'll know, and everybody will know. But we convinced him. We used to hire locals to work on the base there, and then locals in the chow hall, locals in the laundry, and everything. And we convinced him that, hey, if you ask for extra starch, the ladies in the laundry will, kind of hook up with you. So he's like, really? We're like, oh yeah. So
We'll hook up with you. Hold on. Did you
yes,
say hook up?
yes. Yeah, well, I'm trying to keep it as close to PG as possible.
Okay, go
So
for
yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's like, really? We're like, oh yeah, yeah. So we drop you drop your laundry off and they give you a little ticket, you fill it out. And so he gets there and he hands his laundry in and he goes, hey, I want extra starch. And the lady goes, yeah, okay. And he goes, no, 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 extra starch. She's like, okay. And then he's filling it out, and we're behind him just giggling. And he's like, hey, extra starch. Now, Lady Lisa, she goes, okay. So we leave, and we're laughing like, dude, how did you believe that? Like, come on, did you not realize we were messing with him? Well, a couple of days later, we went back to get our uniforms, and his uniform looked like 2x4s. He had so much extra starch. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah. So, yeah.
Had he caught on yet?
God bless him. Maybe to this day, I don't think yeah. But great CEO, great operator. Just, yeah, wasn't really understanding that extra starch led you nowhere but extra starch.
Some of the
Yeah.
best pranks are the most simple ones. When we were beach lifeguards, we used to tell the rookies, go get the stand jack. I need a stand jack from the stand that's one street down. And the rookie would get up because they would train with us, and so they would sit up on our stands for however long. And I'd say, okay, go get the stand jack. It's on the next stand. And then, 60 streets later, they're still looking for the stand jack.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
like there's no such thing as a lifeguard stand jack in Virginia Beach.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Shoot. Are you still swimming and running? What are you doing? You look like you're keeping in good shape.
Yep.
What are you doing?
Still fighting Father Time. I continue to swim, weights, trying to get into more stretching, kind of a yoga. I'm as stiff as a 2x4. And believe it or not, you'll be happy to know this. My little ODU soccer player, I play in a soccer league. So,
No, you do not.
yes,
You
yes,
just started playing soccer?
yeah. So at
That's
50 years
awesome.
old, so I'm 61. At 50 years old, I was like, I want to play soccer. And so right there in Virginia Beach, I signed up. You sign up online, and they have a draft and everything. Well, as you see, my last name is Gonzalez. So the coach calls me up, and he's all excited. And he's like, hey, man, what position you play? I said, I don't know. He's like, what? I said, I've never played organized soccer in my entire life. The level of disappointment in his voice, he was like, oh. because he saw
just assumed.
Gonzalez. He thought, oh yes, he thought I'm like Real Madrid or yeah. But
He thought you've been playing since you were 4.
yes, yeah. So, but I went out there and like first practice, warmed up, saw me running. And he goes, "Hey man, you like to run?" I was like, "Yeah, dude, I'm retired Navy SEAL." He goes, "Midi." So yeah, so I started off playing midi, just running crazy, and then kept practicing. And I had a friend of mine. She played college soccer. She would teach me everything, and yeah, I played 3 times a week. And we have 50s, 60s, 70s, and we actually have 3 80-year-olds who play.
And this is you're living in Florida now,
I'm
right?
living in Florida. Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Now,
ma'am.
you live in a really like a well-known community. Is it like 50 and up that you
55 and over. Yeah, 55 and older.
And it's a bunch of partiers, right? It's like a bunch of 55 and older who like throw down like they're in college.
Yes, it's people who have worked hard their whole life, and they move here and they have fun. And we have like 54 golf courses, hundreds of pools, pickleball courts, tennis courts, and everything. We have live music 365 days out of the year. Yeah, and it's just people who have worked hard their whole life who came here and like, you know what, I want to enjoy it. I want to enjoy it while I can. And yeah, and there's you'll see people 70, 80 years old out there getting their groove on, which is really cool.
I think that's the fountain of youth is social. There's like, my son and I went to Japan on a school trip this year. Have you ever been to Japan?
Been to Okinawa, but never Japan.
Okay.
Well, I flew through Japan, but yeah, Okinawa.
Yeah. And everybody, they're like, oh, the Japanese live, a long life and it must be their diet. Like what I ate there was a bunch of noodles and like wontons. I was overcarbed, the food was okay, like it was, I felt like I eat healthier in Southern California, but I think Southern California eats healthier than most anyway. But you know what it is? They walk everywhere for one thing. And another thing is they care for their elders and they're very close. Everybody's always in a bunch. They all live together. They have great, social rules. And I think if like every neighborhood in America was more like the neighborhood you live in, I think we'd all be happier. Like I really want that for my neighborhood here in San Diego, but it's just a regular neighborhood. There's like 10,000 kids that live in this neighborhood and you never see them until it's time to walk to school. And it's like a zombie. Like they're all on the sidewalks just walking down to school and there's lines of them. I mean, there's literally probably 100 or 200 kids in the neighborhood and you see them on the way to school and on the way back. And that is it. I want to be friends. Like my neighbors are amazing. They're just amazing. We're surrounded by just great people, but I want to have like cookouts every week and stuff like that. But you can't really get that going in a regular neighborhood. I just think would be good for everybody.
Absolutely. This is old school Americana. You have neighbors looking after neighbors. We're extremely diverse on our one block. I mean, you can't get any further from like retired military man. We have retired police officers, teachers, postal workers, and completely diverse. I mean, across the street from us is we have a lesbian couple. Down the street, we have 2 or 3 African-American couples. It's just a wonderful blend. But the biggest thing is, like you said, it's old school Americana where we just look after each other. So if somebody needs something, hey, Gonzo, can you come help me with this or vice versa? And everybody gets along. We just get along because once again, we've all worked hard our whole life. It's like, hey man, I'm just coming down here to have fun. I want to play golf. I want to play pickleball, swim, work out, play soccer or whatever. Or I just want to listen to live music. And yeah, and it's just old school Americana. But I think also with the kids nowadays, they're so addicted to this that they've lost kind of that social interaction. Where we were in college, we didn't have phones. So like we talked to each other,
Yeah, we had to go out to the bars.
Well,
And
you were the pretty girl, not it was come on, don't. I had to give guys many looks like, hey man, don't mess with my friend. I'll beat the crap out of you. So yeah.
you have always been there for me, buddy. You have always been there. Like if I ever needed a thing, this is the guy, man. Like if you ever want a good friend, become friends with this guy. He's the guy.
Oh, likewise.
And
Thank you.
well, you were, my sorority and your fraternity in college, we used to have events and do things together. Did you say, you just said, were we recording yet when you said that you were doing something with the fraternity
Now,
again?
I don't think we were, but yeah, I'm on the board of directors for Theta Chi. So, I
What
am
does that mean? What do you do with that?
we have everything. Like we've handled the bylaws, we have handled the business. I am the international marshal, which you'll get a kick out of this. I am responsible for discipline in the chapters, so I know that kind of fits. But yeah, so that's I know. But well, when you mess up and you have a Navy SEAL like calling you, you're like, oh yeah, we're in trouble now. But
That's an,
yeah.
oh, shit.
Yeah, yeah. But it's been a joy. I really enjoy because you're shaping the future of the fraternity.
Well,
And
how have fraternities changed? So much has changed on college. No, this is Theta Chi,
mm,
all of Theta Chi,
yes, ma'am.
not just Old
Mhm.
Dominion, but all of Theta Chi.
All of Theta Chi. Yes, ma'am.
So
Yeah.
how has I've heard a lot has changed on with the culture on campuses. Can you see that? Is that true,
Mhm.
or what do you see with the guys now compared to when we went to school?
Well, the biggest thing is that and this is kind of a reflex from the Me Too movement, is that you kind of find that you're almost kind of being beaten down where you want to enjoy being in a male organization. So we're finding that, like, hey, look, it's okay to have all male organizations. In fact, this is the benefits of being in an all male organization. So we're kind of finding that. But it's still it's coming back up, and I don't mean that disrespectfully to the Me Too movement. Anybody disrespects a woman should be crushed 100%. Okay. But I mean, is that it's kind of come maybe a little too much where guys are afraid to be masculine. And so we're encouraging, like, hey, it's okay to be masculine. In fact, we want that, but just be respectful, be a gentleman, not just be a Neanderthal. So, so fraternity life is giving young men the opportunity to grow, to meet the different people from all over the country and the world. One of our chapters that FAU has a brother from Rome. Like, the guy came here as an exchange student, and he's like, I want to enjoy this fraternity, this college experience. So we're seeing that kind of come back, and it's a great way for young men to learn how to be leaders, how to be involved. Because if you're the rush chairman of a chapter or the social chairman of a chapter, and your party fails, okay, you're learning failure at 19, 20 years old, rather than when you're in the business world and you're 28, 29, 30, and you're assigned a task and you fail. You're learning, okay, let me learn at 19, 20 years old so I can learn from that. So it's a lot more than just, parties and stuff like, and intramurals and stuff like that. We still have it, but we're doing a lot more than we used to. So.
You are the perfect person to help correct the over pendulum swing of the women's movement, of the Me Too movement. You could they should make a poster with your face on it.
Thank you.
You are
Thank
the
you.
perfect man to right that ship, because it has been over. There's a guy, Dr. Michael Gurion, and he is a brain researcher and a psychologist, and he's written like 35 books, and he, forgive me because I don't remember he has a podcast, and the guy that he does the podcast with was, is his last name Wright or something? But he and I guess Gloria Steinem were the women's movement people originally. And his whole stand now is that he's like, yo, this is not what I was marching for 30, 35 years ago. And then when I realized that the pendulum had swung too far was when I had a son. And I put him in school, and very quickly I realized, wait a minute, like, this is normal, natural boy behavior. Boys do not use language as much as girls. They use their bodies. They need to move around more. Their brains are different. Language, bro, check this out. your daughter's a senior. Well, yeah, you've got a daughter, so you probably never. This I don't even know if this ever even came across your desk as of experiences, but the boys, the boys and men have language on one side of your brain, and women have it on two sides. So we have a lot more going on. That's why we use more words. And that's why we're always talking. Most women, anyway, 1 in 5 are more like guys. I think I'm one of those, and I'm pretty sure I am. But boys in American schools and other schools around the world are expected to read and write like girls. It all evens out in about 7th or 8th grade, but the boys have been so beat down by the time that they get into the 7th or 8th grade. Your handwriting's not good enough. You're not reading at a good enough level. You're behind. You're not good enough. You're not good enough. They are told this all day, every day until 8th, 9th grade. And by then, if they haven't dropped out of school or they haven't like totally lost faith or interest in school, it's a miracle. So I learned that early on with my son, and I just told him every day, I kept saying, they don't know any better. They don't teach them in college. The teachers aren't told that boys and girls are different. And so by the time that they get to college, I can only imagine, there's not enough men in education, I don't think. God, men, please go be a teacher, with the young ones. And they are worth their weight in gold. I mean, the male teachers and principals and all that stuff, just, it's like a world. Anytime you have all women in one group or all men in one group, sometimes you need a little... some guys in there or some women in there, even the SEAL teams, while women are not SEALs, right? I don't know. What is the latest on that? Are women allowed to be SEALs, or are they just, what's the latest on that?
We've opened it up to women. Congress, made it to where we have to open it up to women. And we've had a few women start, but it's just a demand. I mean, it's physically just the most challenging thing you can do. And I don't want to get myself in trouble by speaking for the SEAL community. This is Gonzo's opinion on it, is that it is so demanding that it's rough. There are some things that women can do that men cannot do, and then vice versa. Now, that being said, I've utilized women on deployment for combat effectiveness. And you have to think out of the box to do that. We have cultural relation teams. We have cultural teams of women who would go into the villages and winning the hearts and minds. And these are women who are hardcore and, but they're smart. And so everybody has their place. So, but
well,
yeah.
that's what I was getting at, is that like even though, I mean, the buds, you're carrying a telephone pole on your back. Like, there's a big difference between me and you. You outweigh me probably by 100 pounds. And I'll tell you, and I'll tell you a story about my last day lifeguarding that I could never forget. That lesson I learned that day. But I've been told about the SEAL teams, when they were, back when the whole conversation with Congress is like, should they, this, that, and the other. I've been told this. Women already work with the SEAL teams in a very active way and do extremely dangerous things. So whether or not they need to actually go through buds and be on the assault team or whatever quals you want to get and be, go through that pipeline, he was like, it's not necessary. Like, women are already there and they're already doing extremely dangerous things, like very, very dangerous. If there's women who want to get in the mix, they can, and they are. So that was kind of like, okay, so it's not like, there's no discrimination or anything. It's just like, there's a part you play. It's very dangerous, and caution, to anybody who wants to even, play that part. But going back to my last day lifeguarding, it was in the fall, and it was ECSC, East Coast Surfing Championship. And there's a professional surfer named Wes Lane, and he has a brother who's also a professional surfer. They're both from out here in San Diego. And it was real stormy. It was like a nor'easter. And we were down to about quarter staff. And the ECSC competition was at the Rudy Inlet so that's lifeguard stand number 1. And there was 2 guys on that stand, and I was on lifeguard stand number 4 or number 2 or whatever it was, the next one down. And it was pouring down rain, and it was choppy, and it was windy. It was just a terrible storm, and the guys were out there surfing. And out of nowhere, this guy, this full-grown man on a jet ski in a full wetsuit, goes full speed ahead into the rocks on a jet ski. Full speed ahead. Like, he was probably having a medical problem. And I mean, it was through the surfers into the jetty, like into the rocks, just a giant disaster of a crash. So the 2 guys call the rescue. They on the stand number 1, and they go swimming out, but it was a lot of resistance on them. So they were trying to get out. You know, we backfill like per standard operating procedure. I go get up on stand number 1, and I'm calling it in to our captain and everything who's in the truck coming down from the station already. And Wes Lane picks up the guy because the guards can't get out there. It's too far out and too messy. Wes Lane picks up the guy and brings him around outside the jetty into the jetty on the boat side. So again, I'm, pouring down rain. I get down I get down onto the, off the stand and go up over the rocks. And Wes is like, get this guy off my board. And I was like, bro, thanks for saving his life.
Yeah.
Thank you for saving his life. You just saved this man's life, thank you. And so I'm trying to get this bloody mess of a guy who is hardly conscious off of Wes's surfboard and over the rocks. And so that, the ambulance was coming, and I couldn't get him by myself. I mean, it was a full grown man who was mostly dead weight and bloody. And I couldn't do it myself. And you could do it yourself. I guarantee you that. I'm 100% sure.
Thank you.
I am 100% sure you could have done that by yourself. My captain came down, and he was a Virginia Beach firefighter. A lot of the firefighters and EMTs do the summer, they do it as a freelance kind of thing. And Rob was his first name, and I cannot remember a second name. He always had the firefighter mustache and a huge sense of humor. And he came up over the rocks and manhandled this guy. And I was barely keeping up with them, getting him across the rocks and onto the backboard and, packing him up and getting him out. And I just remember looking at Rob like, what a difference between me and you, man. In the water, maybe I can swim as fast as everybody else, but that wasn't even close. Like, that was not even close. And I was in great shape at the time. During a lifeguard competition, I did 11 pull-ups. For a young woman, that's a lot, right?
Yeah.
That's not bad. I'm not sure I could do one right now. I was in great shape. But at a $115 soaking wet, that guy wasn't getting over the rocks without a man. Without 2 men. He didn't make it there without Wes Lane, for one thing. And he didn't get onto that backboard without Rob. And I kept, for 20 years, I was like, man, it is remarkable, the difference in the strength between a man and a woman. Yeah. I really saw it firsthand. There was no doubt. And about 20 years later, I went back to Virginia Beach to visit family. And I went down to the station to say hi to everybody. And I saw him. And we were talking, and he's like, I told him this story, and I was like, Rob, I'll never forget you, man. Like that whole rescue, and you just changed my world when it comes to men. And it was very enlightening. And he goes, Russo, you dummy, I was wearing shoes. And I was like, yeah, but still, if I'd been wearing shoes, it did. So Rob, come on, but it didn't matter. He was wearing shoes, and it did matter that he was wearing shoes, but it still didn't matter.
Right.
I was like, Rob, don't mess up the story. I love men. I admire your strength. You're just beautiful people. You make the world go round. Like, what can I say? He's like, I was wearing shoes.
Yeah. Yeah. But for your listeners, yeah. I mean, you back in the day, you were, and I say this respectfully, you were a beast. Like, you were phenomenal shape. Even back at ODU, you were always in great shape. And then over the years, as I've visited with you in Coronado and San Diego, I mean, you were very big in a Krav Maga. I mean, you've always been active. So if anybody thinks you're a little wallflower, I was like, no, 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 no. Trust me,
No, you know
no.
what? And thanks for saying that, Steve. Yeah, fitness has always been like I can't, you know, like men and boys, they need to move. Right. And Dr. Michael Gurion says, you know, in his research, like 1 in 4 girls and women think and behave more like men. That doesn't mean, you know, anything about your, you know, sexuality or whatever, your preference and all that stuff. But I don't like to, like, I need a treadmill for this podcast, even just, you know, like
Yeah.
when I edit, which I hate, this should be all like look live type stuff. Eventually I'll bring it all live, but I cannot stand sitting down. But, you know, I was just so overworked and exhausted over the last, I would say, 4, 5, 6 years. Like there was very little fitness, which is highly unlike me. And I was just scrawny, skinny, you know, like not in any kind of shape, like not getting any workouts in. But I have gotten back into a fitness routine just like that. Soon as I started sleeping past 3:45 in the morning, now I'm on the assault bike almost every morning. That beast. You know, they make them
Nice.
out here in Carlsbad. Have you ever used one of those? They fight you. They fight you. You know, they
Really?
fight back.
Nice.
So it's this stationary bike that is not electric or anything like that. And it's got the arms and
Well, yeah,
the
it has like a
legs.
fan. It has like a fan on it. Yeah, we use those
Yeah.
at the teams. We use those. So
Yeah,
yes.
it's a big team thing. And so we have one here, and I bought it years ago, and the company is actually here in Carlsbad, and we've had them on the show before and that kind of thing. They're great. They also have a new treadmill that I want to get, but it's too expensive. It's like $3,000, and I'm like, I don't have that. I can't do that. But that thing fights you. It fights you back. Like the harder you go, it fights you back. And so I've been doing some interval training on that, and I've been riding bikes down to the beach and running the stairs and running, you know, some deep sand and running the hills. It's real hilly here in San Diego. Lots of sit-ups, and I've gotten back into doing some boss rooting. You know, I was heavy into Krav Maga since 2008, and for those of you who might not know what that is, it's kind of like a martial art, but it's all about self-defense. And if you look on my YouTube page where you might be watching this now, you'll go back some videos and you'll see I did a series of stories on self-defense, and I worked with Krav Maga Worldwide and the FBI Behavior Analysis Unit at Quantico, and did a whole bunch of stories on use of force. And so that you can walk in peace, you know, like, you know what your rights are, and you know your situational awareness was like the one that I need to work on. I never turned a series of stories on the actual situational awareness. And that was something that was proposed to me as something that, you know, people in the know wanted me to do. And I just haven't done that yet. So maybe that'll be my next one. But that fitness that's the most fit I have ever been in my life. Like my Krav Maga teachers, it's like a martial art, but it's not. It's all self-defense, and it's all intuitive, and it's the Israeli hand-to-hand combat, you know, self-defense type thing. And in America, they have a program where they can teach regular civilians, and they can teach also law enforcement and military. And they do all of that here. And my teachers have become like family to us. And so it's been a really great thing. But as of the last several, you know, I don't know, 5 years, like I've just been, but soon as I resigned from that job, boom, right back in the routine. I've put on a few pounds. I feel a lot better. You know, my shirts, my shoulders, you know, my shirts are a little tighter. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Muscle Mania 2026 right here. Roar. Tough guy. You know, and it's funny because on TV, you know, I've been on TV for 30 years. When I meet them in person, one of the funniest things that ever happened is this lady, and I was at a park, and she came up to me and she goes, "Are you Chrissy Russo?" It's like, yeah. She goes, "You are so much smaller in person." And I was like, you know what it is? I have a big mouth, and it just makes me seem like I'm huge and strong. She's like, "You're a pipsqueak." And I was like, lady, don't make me flex my muscles right now.
She didn't know who
I
she was
will.
messing with. She did not know.
No,
Yeah.
it was very cute.
Yep.
Very cute. So, uh, how do I, Steve, what do I need to do to be a stay-at-home mom? Because I never did read what came up on Google, how to be a stay-at-home mom. What do you do? What do I do? Like, how do I dress? What do I do? What does a stay-at-home mom do? Do I wear makeup still?
I think that asking me, so this is hilarious that, you get me.
Makes sense to
Yeah,
me.
yeah, okay. I think the biggest thing though is sense of purpose. Like you have your workouts, and of course you have your son. That's the number one thing, is your son. Okay, but then you have your workouts and your structure and your routine, but you have to have that sense of purpose. Otherwise, you'll fall into that stay-at-home trap where you click in TV, you're finding every excuse not to do what's beneficial for you. And I've known you for a long, long time. You've always consistently grown. Every time I talk to you, you have a new fascination, a new hobby, something you want to learn. So I think you can just continue to do that. I think you continue to be Chrissy, just you're doing it at home. Um, yeah, and then, like I said, just wake up, take care of your son, get him off to school. Then you go about your day, whether it's a good workout or learning something or volunteering for something. Yeah, and, that to me is you. And then getting that rest that you needed 30 years to get, catching up on that rest and taking care of you. You've taken care of a lot of people over the years. I've known you for a long time. You've taken care of a lot of people. It's time to take care of Chrissy. So,
I got
yeah.
a 90 on my sleep score on my Aura Ring last night,
Nice,
and a
nice.
93 the night before. All-time highs, I think. All-time highs. So, okay, all right. So I live in Southern California, so I have to work.
Mhm.
And you can't live here and not work unless you inherited like $1 billion. And so I started this business and this media business and this podcast. So I've got, it was funny because right as I told my son, I was like, all right, I'm resigning, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. And right as, he reached the age where he was like, I kind of like my independence, Mom, And I was like, hey, don't trip. I got my own thing going, okay? You keep your independence going. And a lot of my buddies were saying, like, wait, he was riding his bike to school on his own every morning, like 5 miles, and he was responsible for getting himself up, and like he was, not a lot of 14-year-olds are responsible like that these days. Not a lot of them, a lot of them, the helicopter or whatever, they're not getting that kind of that. Don't undo that.
Right.
I got a lot of that from my guy friends. Like, don't undo that. And I said to them too, don't trip. I got my own thing going, y'all,
Right.
but as it turns out, I think I can't speak for my child, but I will say, I think he doesn't mind smelling breakfast when he wakes up,
Right.
that he's
Yeah.
not making a shake or heating up something that I left him at, 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
I don't think he minds.
No, he'll complain about it, but it's kind of like a soft complaint, like, "Oh, Mom, come on." It's like giving a kiss, like, "Mom," like I said, I did 34 years, and I would complain every time I'd go visit my mom and then leave. She'd always give me a kiss, like, "Mom, come on, Mom." But my mom's not here anymore, and I miss it so much, So yeah. So those little things. So yeah, he's gonna complain about it, but deep down inside, he's gonna love it. And like I said, once again, we've known each other for a long time. There you have your helicopter parents, and then you have your snowplow parents. Helicopter parents are always there, like always. Snowplow parents are the worst because they remove every obstacle for their child. They do their best to remove every obstacle to where they have the easiest life. But then the first time they have adversity, they don't know what to do. Like, they have no idea what to do. You're like, hey man, you're gonna grow up like we grew up. Like, you're gonna ride your bike to school, and if you're gonna learn how to cook, you're gonna learn how to eat, you're gonna be self-supportive. So when he goes on to college or whatever he does after high school, he'll be like, I got this. I mean, I can't tell you how many of Caitlin's friends, male friends, cannot change a tire on a car. And one of her friends got a flat, and she laid into him like, I cannot believe you do not know how to change a tire. here,
Did
let
she
me
help
help
him?
you. Yes, here, let me help you. Yeah. And like, and because once again, it's this, like, oh, let me TikTok that. Like, no, get your hands on that tire. Whereas when we grew up, your parents probably said, all right, they're gonna teach you how to change the tire, change the oil, all this stuff. So
Or
yeah,
you cannot drive, and you
yes,
need to know how to drive a stick shift. So that's
yes.
another thing is with my guy, he's going to know how to drive a stick shift. He's going to know how to change the tires, change the oil, do it in he loves cars. So I don't think this is going to be a tough one. But you need to know how to drive a stick shift, period.
Yes.
Or you're not getting a driver's license. And even my cousins, that are, because I come from this big Italian family, the boys that are my first cousins that are young, just the next one's born, not, maybe 5 years younger than I am. They got their driver's license when they were 16, 17, didn't know how to drive a stick shift. And I remember asking them, like, what happens when your designated driver at the party has some drinks?
Uh,
What are you going to do? Like, we're going out, in the car and we're going to learn how to drive a stick shift. You need to know how to drive a stick shift. But I wonder, one of the last interviews I just did was with my buddy Brian Pennings, who's a retired CHP officer. And he was talking about autonomous cars now. And he was talking about how much safer they are than he said, pound for pound, much safer than human drivers. And
wow.
I wonder, by the time that my guy is driving, how many of the cars are going to be self-driving, or what are we dealing with? We're not even dealing with cars that have engines anymore. And when a Tesla breaks down, when something happens, it's a whole thing, like you have to have the cell phone to unlock it or do stuff. I mean, it's a whole different process, that whole pre-flight checklist that our parents set us up with, before you got your license it's going to be totally different now, because what is he going to be driving when he's 16? We've just started like a Dave Ramsey type savings account for him, you whatever you save up, I'll match it,
Uh-huh.
kind of thing. So I don't know what he's going. He loves like muscle cars and old,
Nice.
60s and so.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's a big fan. So I don't know what he'll end up in, but it could. There's a range. It's not going to be the same. It's not going to be the same program my parents put me through. I know that,
Right.
because it wasn't even crossing their mind that there would be electric cars. How do you even change a tire on a Tesla? I mean, those tires are totally different than a regular car tire. I wouldn't even know. What do you drive? Are you driving any electric vehicles? Or are you
No,
still doing?
ma'am. I've got the
I
old
do the
Ford
gas.
Explorer. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
Oh, do
Yeah.
you really?
Yes. Yeah. Well, I need the SUV because I travel so much with Force Blue. We're traveling and we're diving everywhere, so I need to have the ability to put that stuff in my all my dive gear, my luggage and everything. So, and I like a good SUV. It's
So
nothing crazy. So.
tell me about Force Blue.
So we're a nonprofit that retrains and redeploys special operations veterans to work with scientists on marine environmental projects. So you have SEALs, Green Berets, Air Force pararescuemen, combat controllers, things like that. And we work with scientists. We're helping repair Florida's coral reef. So we're actually outplanting coral to help regrow it because it's the third largest coral reef in the world. Didn't know that until I started with Force Blue.
Wait, which one is the third largest?
Florida's coral reef. So yes, ma'am.
And where exactly is that in
That
Florida?
goes all the way to the coast. It goes all the way from like Jacksonville all the way down, all the way to the Keys. So they have a disease right now, stony coral tissue loss disease, which is a disease that's impacting the coral reef and it's bleaching it. And the coral, everything goes off of coral. Coral actually cleans more oxygen than all the rainforests in the world. Did not know that either. So, but I learned that as I work for Force Blue and continue these processes, these missions. So we've done that. We've repaired California's kelp beds off the coast of LA. As you know, there's a bad sea urchin problem there. So we did what's called a repurposing the sea urchins. Basically, the scientists gave us hammers and we crushed the crap out of these sea urchins. So the sea lions would eat them. The sea lions would eat them and everything. The seals would eat them and everything. So we've done that. We've removed invasive species, lionfish off the coast of Texas and Destin, Florida.
No, wait. Do you do all this by hand?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Hmm.
Hell.
Yeah.
Wait. in Texas, what was the creature that
Is
was invasive?
sea lion. Excuse me, lionfish.
What is
Lionfish.
that? A lionfish?
Yeah,
That
yeah. So
sounds like.
yeah,
Do they
it's
have
a
teeth?
no, no, no. But they're very invasive. They eat everything. So it's there, Texas, and it's in the Gulf. And so the
Okay.
Texas, Destin, in that area. And basically, it's just like the pythons down in Florida. Some chuckleheads opened or bought a lionfish, brought it back. It got too big. So rather than do something with it, they dump it in the water and they've just reproduced and it's just grown the population so much. Same thing with all the like pythons down in the Everglades. Chuckleheads back in the 80s started being really cool. I'll get this boa or I'll get this and there. And then when it got too big, they took it down to the Everglades, releasing them, not thinking like, well, these are mass produced. And now you have that huge problem in the Everglades. Now we don't do the pythons, but we do lionfish removal. We've done apple snail removal, which is a snail's very invasive in the Colorado River. We did that there. So we're just like special operations. We're jack of all trades, master of none. We do a lot of marine debris because unfortunately, chuckleheads will throw their stuff over the boats and thinking like, ah, it'll be all right. Just go down to the bottom of the ocean, bottom of the water. So we'll bring up marine debris and things like that. So, but yeah,
What's the most interesting thing that you brought up? You ever see those YouTube channels where guys go like diving down where bridges are and people throw stuff over and they find like cars and
motorcycles, scooters. So I can't tell you the amount of cell phones from selfies. Yeah, like, oh, it goes in the water. So yeah, plasma TVs, toilets.
What?
Yes, 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 yeah. Table chairs. Yeah, you
Jeez.
name it. Yeah, yeah. It's
This
yeah.
this is great, Steve.
Mhm.
And then what is your role in this?
I'm the special projects and events director. So I put
You're the social programmer. Of
that's me.
course.
Of course. Of course. So I am the Chrissy Russo of Force Blue. So no, but no, so that's what I do is I help put together missions. I'm the kind of the mouthpiece of the organization.
You're the face.
I'm the face. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Of course you are.
Here we are years later.
Still looking good, sounding good and everything.
Thank you. Thank you,
Oh,
my
boy.
friend. Thank you. So, but yeah,
So-
it's a great way for our guys. And we have two ladies. We have a Coast Guard veteran, and we just brought on a lady who was working with the SEAL teams. And she wasn't a SEAL, obviously, but she was working with the SEAL teams. We just brought her on board. So it's a great way for our guys and gals to continue to serve. And once again, the sense of purpose. It gives them a new mission because when a veteran does 4, 8, 10, 34 years, when you get out, you're looking for, you want, everybody joins because they want to be part of something special. When they get out, they miss being part of something special. And this gives them the opportunity to do that again. So because you're around your like-minded community, fellow veterans, and we have honest conversations, like, hey, have you dealt with this, or how did you deal with that, or just funny conversations where you're just telling stories, as the humor. But yeah, so it's fantastic, and it's also amazing because I never dove in the open water during the day until I joined Force Blue. Every dive I did in the SEAL teams was late at night, either training here or somewhere overseas, countries that didn't know we're there, didn't want us there, but it was always in the middle of the night. So it's amazing to see country colors and marine life and truly the beauty of this world. Because I tell people all the time, I've seen the worst in humanity. I've seen the absolute worst in humanity through all the conflicts that I've been through and everything. Diving in our oceans and our waterways allows me to see just the absolute beauty of God's grace of just, and just the joy. It's your breath and your heartbeat. That's all you hear. And it's just amazing.
Do you have to be a scuba diver? Can you just be a snorkeler?
So the 3 prerequisites that we have for Force Blue to be a member of our team, you have to be a special operations veteran, dive qualified, honorably discharged, and in good standing within your community. And I put that in there because, as you know, every community, we have a couple of guys that don't represent our communities as best as they could. So we have that. So those are the prerequisites to be a member of our team. But when we have our dives, like I think we are going to go out to Chumash and a couple other things. If you wanted to volunteer, then yeah, you can scuba. We have all kinds of stuff. We do beach cleanups, we do scuba cleanups, we do snorkeling cleanups, we do mangrove cleanups, things like that. So yeah, you could anybody can follow us on social media and see what we're doing, and if we happen to be in their area, they can volunteer. Come on out and volunteer. They just have to contact the special projects and events director at Force Blue. So yeah. I would love to get you. I would love to get you out on one of our missions, just so you can see it. But also, you've always been a pistol. You've always been a hard charger, and um, it would just it would be fun. It would be fun. All these after all these years to have you. I couldn't take you on missions that I did overseas, but I could take you on something like this, and that'd be fun. Yeah,
I
and
would
your son.
love
Yeah,
to, but I've never been trained to scuba dive. Obviously, I can swim, but I don't know that you would need me to scuba dive anyway. Like I could clean up the beach or do something. I don't know. Who knows? But it sounds like a great program
it is.
and perfect for you.
Thank you.
And do you work on this like 5 days a week or are you?
This is my full-time job. So, yeah, and I work remotely, but then our missions, Publix Supermarkets is one of our sponsors here in Florida. So we do a lot of missions in Florida. We're going to be assisting with the sinking of the SS United States in Destin. It's this huge vessel that they're going to sink. The city of Destin has sank a lot of vessels. They've actually sank the Spirit of Norfolk. Remember the Spirit of
Really?
Norfolk? Yeah. So they sank that, and they're creating artificial reefs, which help for prevent hurricane damage, erosion, coastal erosion, but also it's giving divers something to dive on. So we're going to be assisting with that. And we're working with the National Marine Sanctuaries, which are basically underwater, uh, like Yellowstone, like national parks, but they're underwater. So we're working with them to highlight what they bring. And yeah, we were just up in Oswego, Lake Ontario. We've been to Alpena, Thunder Bay. We're going to be in Chumash, which is out west. We've been to Flower Garden Banks in Texas, Key West. So yeah, so it's really, really cool. And once again, it's like special operations. It's diverse. Yeah.
How do you sink a ship? I mean, cleanly. You get
Uh,
all the gas out and the oil
oh
out and you
yes,
got
it's
to
a
scrub everything.
huge process. Yes, yeah, yeah. They scrub everything. Like it has to be like the EPA, everybody checks it out. Everybody makes sure that there's nothing, no contaminants on there. And then yeah, then they slowly sink it without either use demolitions to sink it or they scuttle it where they'll just open up all the flood tanks and everything and scuttle it and everything. So, but yeah, it's really neat. And we're going to be the safety divers for that. So we're excited about that too.
Fun.
Yes.
Getting back to the coral reef that you said is having the bleach
Mhm.
problem, what was causing that? And are you guys able to mitigate that? What's the latest on that?
So the scientists are trying to find out what they think is causing it. They're still trying to find out. They do believe that some dredging might have kicked something up to attack the coral reefs. So that's one theory, but also the heat. As water gets hot, it bleaches the coral. So we've been working with them, utilizing, ironically, like medicine that we would use to inject into the coral reefs, trying that. But they also one of the groups that we used to work with, University of Miami, has coral farms where they're growing coral, and then we'll take it, we'll snip it, like put little pieces, and then we outplant it onto the coral reef utilizing special cement, and they're seeing that, and that's working. Now, sometimes it'll heat up again, some of that will pass away, but the great thing is some of it is resisting the heat, and nature finds a way, like, so it's resisting. But it's really cool because you'll plant that piece and it's like the size of your thumb. I know, God, it's a sense of humor. I have freaking use hands for a little guy, but you'll like to be like the size of your thumb. You outplant it, and then we'll go back and monitor it. And when we went back, all of a sudden like this big, like the size of a head of lettuce, and then you go back and it's the size of deer antlers and then moose antlers. So it's really neat to watch this happen. But it's also neat because I'll never go back to some of the countries that I deployed to, nor do I want to. But I'll be able to dive on some of these sites and see like, hey, I did that. And Caitlin, my daughter, she's now dive qualified, so I can enjoy that with her, and she can say, "Hey, yeah, my dad did that." And then eventually, like, she can take her generation, because that's what we're trying to do, is inspire the next generation of marine conservation. Let's say, like, people, we're trying to say, "Hey, look, this is our planet right now, like our generation. This is our planet. We want to teach you how to take care of it for your generation, and then your children's generation, and so on and so on." So yeah, so it's pretty neat. There's a lot of layers to Force Blue, and I'm just happy to be a part of it.
What's the latest on the kelp out here? I used to use on the show, I used to use that kelp camera. It was, what is the, it was a Park Service camera.
Mm-hmm.
It was a National Park Service camera outside of Catalina, I think.
Mm-hmm.
The Catalina Islands. What's the latest with the kelp, the giant kelp out here?
Same thing. Those invasive species. The sea urchins are they pretty much like just mow everything down. So we're trying to combat that as well. So it's very important, and it's a struggle that we're doing, and the scientists are just doing their best to try and combat that. And the great thing about us is we don't have think tanks. We don't have we don't have conferences. They're like, we see problem, fix problem. So if the scientists go, yeah, those sea urchins are messing up the kelp beds, like, well, all right, let's go. So it's an ongoing struggle. But yeah,
I bet
hopefully,
that would be comforting to the scientists to think a team of former special operators are out hunting the sea urchins. I bet that's pretty funny. They're like, all right, I think we got this.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
sea urchins, are they the ones that if you step on them, they get poison in your foot?
Mm-hmm.
Are
Yes,
they?
ma'am.
Is
Yeah.
that a fatal thing? I mean, what is that? How dangerous are those things?
I'm not sure if it's fatal, but I'm pretty sure you get very sick.
It's-
I'd have to research that more. I'm meeting them with a hammer, so they're not going to win. So, yeah, yeah,
Oh
yep,
boy. All
yep.
right. So maybe we should just wrap it up here. Steve, you're the best. Don't hang up. I'm going to stop recording, but don't hang up yet. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Stand by.